poor boy promised, "I will pay you back when I am rich." Daniel had just lost his parents, hungry and with nowhere to go. Mabel Hart took him in and fed him, despite what the neighbors said. 20 years later, her act of kindness came back when she least expected it and changed everything. Before we continue, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Now let's begin. The farm sat at the far edge of the county, where paved roads gave up and dirt took over. It was not large, not impressive, just enough land to keep a woman busy from dawn to dark. Mabel Hart had worked it alone for years. The fences leaned, the shed roof sagged. Still, the rows were planted straight, and the soil stayed alive because she refused to let it die. One afternoon, while hauling a bucket from the pump, she noticed movement near the trees. Not animals, too slow, too unsure. She set the bucket down and waited. A boy stepped out, no older than 10, thin arms hanging loose, shirt stiff with dried sweat. His shoes were cracked at the sides. He did not run when he saw her. He just stood there, eyes darting like he expected to be chased. "What are you doing on my land?" Mabel asked. "I'm not stealing," he said quickly. "I just got lost." She studied him, dirt under his nails, lips pale. Hunger showed itself in small ways when you had seen it enough times. "What's your name?" "Daniel." "Where are you coming from?" He pointed back toward the road. "Anywhere but there." She did not press. She told him to sit on the porch while she finished her work. When she came back, she placed a plate in front of him. Beans, cornbread, nothing fancy. Daniel ate like someone afraid the food might disappear if he slowed down. When he realized she was watching, he apologized with his mouth full. "You sick?" she asked. He shook his head, then hesitated. "Sometimes." That night he slept on a folded blanket near the stove. By morning, he was still there. By the third day, he stopped asking when he should leave. Mabel never said he could stay. She just handed him small jobs. Carry this, hold that, sit still. Weeks passed, then months. Daniel followed her everywhere, learning the farm without being taught. He learned when not to ask questions. When food ran short, Mabel ate less. When he fell ill one winter, fever burning through him, she sold tools she had used for years and walked miles for medicine. One night, while coughing kept him awake, Daniel whispered, "When I get rich, I'll pay you back." Mabel smiled, tired, but real. "You focus on getting better," she said. "Life collects its debts in its own time." She did not know then how true that was. Daniel became part of the farm without ceremony. He learned the rhythm by watching. When Mabel rose, he rose. When she paused, he waited. She showed him how to rinse grit from beans, how to test soil by smell, how to tell rain from wind by the way birds lifted. He listened more than he spoke. That pleased her. Food stayed tight. Mabel stretched meals by habit, cutting portions without announcing it. Daniel noticed anyway. He began pretending he was full, leaving bread behind so she would eat it later. When she caught on, she scolded him once, then let it slide. Survival made its own rules. School officials came after a year. Questions, forms, side glances at the boy who was not hers. Mabel signed what she could. When lunches became a problem, she packed extra biscuits wrapped in cloth. Shoes wore thin faster than she could replace them. She stitched soles late at night, fingers stiff, needle-biting skin she no longer felt. The farm aged with her, seasons passed. Daniel grew taller, shoulders widening. His voice dropped unevenly. He learned which fence posts leaned and which could still hold weight. He learned where the ground flooded first and where corn survived longest. The land raised him as much as she did. People talked, quietly, at the store, at church. Some called her kind, others called her foolish. No one offered help. Mabel learned to read meaning in pauses, in smiles that did not reach eyes. She kept working. When Daniel turned 15, a black sedan rolled down the dirt road and stopped by the gate. A man stepped out, posture rigid, hair silvered but eyes sharp. Daniel went still. "That's my grandfather," he said. The conversation stayed on the porch. Legal words, custody, missed years, a life Daniel was supposed to have. Mabel listened without interrupting. When Daniel looked at her, fear plain on his face, she nodded. "You go," she said. "You don't waste a chance meant for you." He hugged her hard, arms shaking. "I won't forget," he said. "I promise." She pressed a folded note into his hand. Her name, the farm's address, "just in case," she said. After he left, silence settled heavy. Mabel worked longer. Her back bent deeper. By her late 60s, trucks started coming more often. Men in clean boots offered numbers that sounded generous but felt wrong. She refused every one. Neighbors sold. Fields disappeared behind fences. Signs went up. Inspectors arrived with clipboards, tapping boards, circling her barn. They wrote things she did not understand and explained nothing. Letters followed. Non-compliant. Unsafe. Then a court notice. In town, people said she should have sold earlier. That fighting was pointless. Mabel kept planting anyway. The eviction date sat circled in red on her calendar. She stared at it for a long time, then closed the book. The enforcement convoy arrived late morning, not early enough to feel merciful, not late enough to allow excuses. 2 county trucks rolled in first, tires chewing up the edge of her field. A flatbed followed. Then a white van with tinted windows. Engines stayed running. Dust hung in the air and settled on the crops like quiet insult. Mabel stood near the porch, hands clasped low in front of her, eyes fixed on the men as they stepped out. She recognized one of them, the inspector. Same clipboard, same bored expression. He avoided her gaze and started talking to the deputy instead. The deputy unfolded papers and read from them without looking up. Procedure, non-compliance, court order, language designed to sound final. Mabel listened. She did not interrupt. When he finished, she nodded once. They moved quickly after that, too quickly. Chairs dragged out, boxes dumped. A framed photo slipped from a stack and cracked against the dirt. No one picked it up. Someone laughed once, under his breath, then stopped when the deputy glanced over. A small group gathered near the road, neighbors who had sold years earlier. Some watched with folded arms. Others stared at the ground. One woman whispered that it was a shame. Another said nothing could be done. No one crossed the fence. When they carried out the mattress, something gave way in Mabel's body. Her leg buckled. She reached for the pump handle and missed. Her knees hit the ground hard. The breath rushed out of her chest and did not come back right away. "Ma'am," the deputy said, his voice softer now, "you need to move." She did not respond. Her hands pressed into the dirt, fingers curling like she could hold the land in place by force. Tears came without warning, loud, uncontrolled. She hated that most of all. The inspector checked his watch. Then the sound cut through everything. A low thudding roar. Wind whipped loose papers into the air. Heads turned. A helicopter descended over the far field, flattening crops as it landed. Dust exploded outward, coating boots and uniforms alike. Engines shut off. Silence dropped hard. A man stepped out, early 40s, clean shoes, dark jacket, calm posture. He scanned the scene slowly, eyes taking in the trucks, the scattered belongings, the woman on the ground. His jaw tightened. "What's going on here?" he asked. The inspector recovered first. "County matter," he said quickly. "Property violations." The man's eyes moved to Mabel. He walked over and crouched, keeping space, not touching. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "what's your name?" She looked up, confused, face streaked with dirt and tears. "Mabel Hart." The man inhaled sharply. He closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them, something in his expression had shifted. He stood and turned back to the officials. "Stop," he said. right now." "You don't have authority," the inspector began. "I do," the man replied. He pulled out his phone. "Because my company owns the surrounding development, because these inspection reports are forged, and because this land is protected under filings you never checked." He looked back at Mabel. His voice dropped. "It's Daniel." The name did not register at first. Mabel stared at him, blinking like her eyes were not working right. The dust, the noise, the ache in her knees. Daniel was a memory, a thin boy on a porch. Not a man standing in front of her, with a helicopter cooling behind him. "You don't need to say anything," he said quickly, reading the confusion on her face. He offered his hand. She hesitated, then took it. His grip was steady, stronger than she expected. He helped her to her feet and guided her to the porch step before turning back to the others. The inspector tried to speak again, words spilling faster now. Daniel cut him off by raising one finger, not angry, just final. He made a call and put it on speaker. "Send the compliance files tied to parcel 17B, he said. "Now." Phones came out around the yard. The deputy shifted his weight, suddenly unsure. Within minutes, documents loaded onto Daniel's screen. He scrolled in silence, jaw set. Then he turned the phone so the deputy could see. "These signatures are copied," Daniel said. "These inspection dates overlap days your office was closed. This court filing references a zoning change that never passed." The inspector's face drained of color. "There must be a mistake." "There is," Daniel replied, "and it is criminal." He made another call, then another. Names were mentioned that made the deputy straighten. Federal oversight, independent auditors, an injunction request filed in real time. The eviction order was frozen before anyone fully understood how. Neighbors crept closer. Whispers grew louder. Someone asked who the man was. Someone else said his company had just taken over half the regional contracts. Phones lifted. Photos snapped. Daniel turned back to Mabel. "I was already in the area," he said quietly. "My firm was reviewing land use for the new corridor. I saw the parcel number. It stuck." He paused. "I did not expect to find you like this." Her hands shook. "I didn't sell," she said, like she needed him to know that first. "They wanted me to. I didn't." "I know," he said. "That is why they came this way." The deputy cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we are suspending enforcement effective immediately." Daniel watched as the trucks shut down. Boxes were set back where they had been taken from. A worker picked up the cracked photo frame and handed it to Mabel without meeting her eyes. By late afternoon, the inspector was gone. The convoy pulled out slower than it arrived. The road fell quiet again, but it was not the same quiet. It carried weight now. Daniel stayed. He walked the land with her, slow, listening more than talking. He asked where the soil held water, where frost hit first. He remembered more than he admitted. When the sun dipped low, he stood near the porch, hands in his pockets, staring at the fields. "I promised you something," he said at last. "I did not know how, but I never forgot." Mabel looked at him, really looked this time, and finally nodded. The reckoning did not come loud. It came methodical. Auditors arrived within days, not weeks. They walked the same ground the inspectors had rushed, but slower, cameras steady, questions precise. Paper trails unraveled. Dates failed to line up. Payments surfaced where they should not have existed. By the end of the month, charges were filed. Corporations pulled out of the region quietly. Then, all at once, stock slid. Executives resigned. The land deals collapsed under their own weight. Daniel returned often. He never announced himself. He showed up in work clothes, boots dusty, sleeves rolled. New equipment came first. Then irrigation. Then workers hired from the town that had looked away. The farm did not become flashy. It became secure, protected, locked into preservation no court could touch again. Neighbors came by. Some apologized without words. Others brought food. Mabel accepted what felt honest and ignored the rest. She moved slower now, but her back felt lighter. At night, She slept without listening for trucks. He offered her a place in his home. She refused once, then twice. On the third ask, she agreed to stay part-time. He did not argue. He adjusted. On a clear morning, Mabel stood at the edge of the field, watching the soil turn under a modern plow. She pressed her palms together, feeling the vibration travel up her arms. Daniel stood beside her, quiet. "You kept your word," she said. "I just showed up late," he replied. She shook her head. "You came when it mattered." Daniel set up a trust that required no signatures from her, no leverage, no conditions, only care. He checked the fences himself once a month, walked the rows, learned the names of plants again. The